friends, welcome back or welcome if you're new here. My name is Stacy and I am the Chapter Conundrum, and in today's video I'm going to be doing the New Year New Me book tag. So this is something that I saw BookBuds do and I enjoyed watching their version of it, and this was originally created by Kevin Toll. So I will go ahead and have both of their videos of this linked down below in the description for you to go check out. And before we get into it, I'm not sure if I'm going to end up being a new me in 2026. I do feel like my mood reading gremlin is coming out a little bit more. So we'll see how that ends up shaping out with my stats and my goals. But with that said, I still thought the questions in this tag were fun and I wanted to do it. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first question is fears. What is one book from your 2026 reading goals that scares you? And I have one obvious choice for that, and that is Go Tell the Bees That I'm Gone, the 9th book in the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon. So while I'm excited to get to this particular one, book 9, is on my 1 to 10 TBR challenge because it fit into the 900 range. But that also means that I'm going to be rereading book 6, reading book 7, 8, and 9. And that is 4 chunky books on my TBR for 2026, which is why it's scary. Also, knowing that this is the second last book in the series, I'm a little bit scared with how this leaves you, and I don't want to be stuck in a cliffhanger situation waiting for the final book. So I'm a little bit scared that way. But on the other hand, I do really want to read this and figure out what happens in the story and just get there already. Question 2 is patience. What is the one book on your 2026 reading goals you want to start immediately? And for me, that is going to be my reread of Red Rising. I am pretty much always in the mood for Red Rising, and Tim Gerard Reynolds reading it to me is just the best thing ever. But I have been very disciplined in putting off the sequels to the series until we had a closer announcement or closer date for Red God. And now that it's finally, hopefully coming later this year, but if not, should be early 2027, I am excited to dive back into the series and to reread Red Rising and the early books and finally get to Dark Age and Lightbringer for the first time. I know how much of a cliffhanger Pierce Brown can leave you on, as I found out when I was reading the series the first time through. And because of that, I've been very hesitant to push past where I am and to pick up Dark Age and Lightbringer for the first time until we had like a closer timeline. So now that we do, I'm really, really excited to finally be getting back to this one. And yeah, I just want to dive right into this one basically. Question 3 is growth. What book last year pushed you to reflect and or to grow as a reader? So I'm not sure if I had any books that really pushed me to grow as a reader, but I did have one that stood out in my brain in terms of reflection. And that would be What Have I Done by Sophie Kinsella, which was a December read for me. And this is much different than Sophie Kinsella's typical usual fare. She normally writes contemporary romance that's comedic and a little bit more like in the vein of chick lit. But this is an autobiographical work in which our main character Eve is diagnosed with a glioblastoma, which is a type of cancerous brain tumor. And Sophie Kinsella had the same diagnosis and just recently passed away in, I think, early December due to that same condition. And so reading this just hit different. This story is told in vignettes, and you get to see kind of like how Eve is handling this diagnosis and sort of the experiences she has that relates to everything surrounding that. And this is the kind of book that I feel like if I were to reread it several times over, I would come out with a different thing standing out to me on each read through. There's just kind of so much jam packed in here that I found thought provoking. Like we got to explore Eve's social identity, how people reacted to her as an author, and then how they reacted to her a little bit differently when they found out she had a terminal illness. We got to see kind of how she was coping with things, how she was like downplaying some of her symptoms to the doctor as a way to like mentally cope with everything that was happening and to kind of stay a little bit more optimistic. We got to see what her hopes and dreams were for the time that she had left, sort of what things were important to her while she was still here, what she was thinking about, all kinds of that stuff. And I just felt like because Sophie Kinsella's writing in sort of the vignette style brought a lot of levity to this dark tone situation, it is a little bit more subtle in how she tackles certain topics. And so yeah, definitely thought that there was a lot in this one that you could really dig into and think about and kind of expand on. Question 4 is new paths, and that is what is one author you plan to try for the first time in 2026? And guys, this is long overdue. My answer to this one is going to be Michael R. Fletcher. So Blackstone Heart has been a 5-star prediction for me for eons. I just need to get there already. There's so much about this one that I know I'm going to enjoy. So even if it doesn't end up being a 5-star, I'm still going to have a really good time with this. And yeah, just need to read that. But I also have a read along of Manifest Delusions starting this month in January. And so I'm definitely going to be picking this one up this month and hope to enjoy it as well. I don't know as much about the premise of this one, but I am intrigued based on what I do know. And I'm excited that it's going to be a buddy read with Pat and probably a couple other people as well. Question 5 is self-care. What is one book and or series you revisit for comfort? So I'm not typically much of a comfort read, cozy reader type thing, but one that I do kind of go back to when I just need a read that I can sink back into pretty quickly is The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. And I definitely wouldn't classify these books as cozy in any stretch. But I do find that there is something comforting about coming back to such a long series that I'm so entrenched in at this point. I mean, to me, the narrator, James Marsters, he is the voice of Harry Dresden at this point. And there's just something fun about revisiting this world and this series over and over. So I'm really looking forward to the release of 12 Months. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Jim Butcher ends up deciding to tackle this one. Like Battleground was kind of like a big action-packed book, so it'll be interesting to see if 12 Months kind of like slows the pace down and really has a lot of like character stuff after, or if his novella that comes between the books, The Law, is really kind of like where the character focus lay, and we're just going to be jumping right back into the action in this one. I do know that this one is going to span the course of the year, hence the title 12 Months, which is not typical of other Dresden books, so it'll be interesting to see what that's all about as well. Question 6 is Forging Ahead. What is your favorite debut book or first book in a series that you read last year? And as it just so happens, my number one read of 2025 is both a debut and the first book in a series. And we're, of course, going with Malice by John Gwynne here, the first book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. So this was just a really fun reading experience for me. And it's super memorable because so much information is thrown at the reader in this one. And there's so many little tidbits to the prophecy pertaining to the plot in this one that had me guessing. I had so many theories. I was like the crazy conspiracy theory lady reading this book. Like, I had guesses as to where some magical artifacts could be hidden, that this other character over here was lying about this certain thing, and I think they actually fit this piece of the prophecy and they're just hiding the fact. Just like so much of that kind of stuff that just had me so entertained and so engrossed in trying to catch every detail of this book. I absolutely loved my reading experience of this one, and it still blows me away that this was a debut. Question 7 is goals. Do you have a specific reading goal or challenge for the year ahead? And actually, I have a whole video on what my reading goals for 2026 are. So if you haven't seen that yet and you're curious, definitely go check that one out. But the one that I'm going to mention here that I really want to prioritize and focus on this year, like if I accomplish nothing else, this is the one I want to do. And that is to read at least 30 books on my physical TBR. So in 2025, I read 29. So I thought, okay, 2026, we're going to up the ante. We're going to do 30 or more. So as you can tell, our shelves are pretty well at capacity. We don't really have room for another bookcase just yet. And we've had to turn things sideways in order to make things fit. We have books that live behind our other books or books that just live on top of our other books in order to make everything fit. And so yeah, it would just be nice to be able to get through some more of my physical TBR and be able to let go of things that I don't necessarily love in order to have more space on the shelves and for it to feel a little bit more reasonable. So that is definitely one of the goals I would like to work on this year. Question 8 is breaking walls, and it's a bonus. Do you have a non-book related goal for 2026 that you wish to share? And sure, I realized after the fact that I didn't really talk about any channel goals in my 2026 goals video. So one channel goal that I have for myself this year is to film more vlogs. I kind of started doing vlog type content last fall, and I found that I really enjoyed it because for me specifically, the most work intensive part of my channel is planning the content. It's deciding what to film, it's figuring out how to structure what I'm going to say in that video, how I want it to look, what books I'm going to choose for that video. And vlogs to me don't require a whole lot of planning up front because it's just following what I'm reading and kind of like my off the cuff thoughts on that, what's going on in my day-to-day life that's interesting. And it just feels a little bit more organic. So it would be nice to kind of have a little bit of a reprieve from having to do so much of the planning and to be able to just sink into reading a little bit more. And there's definitely no shortage of B-roll opportunities in this house with Ozzy, my dog, and with cooking content because I'm always cooking something. So here's hoping that you also want to see more vlog style content from me, because that is something I definitely want to make more of. Then the last prompt is teamwork, and it is to tag others. And I'm just going to say, if you are watching this, you are interested in doing the tag, consider yourself tagged. I don't necessarily want to tag specific people and then maybe have them have to wait until next year to be able to do this and put it on their calendar. Like, if you want to, if you're planning your content that far out, feel free to put yourself a reminder and say I tagged you. But yeah, if you're watching and you want to do it, you're tagged. Let me know down below in the comments, who is your author that you would like to try for the first time in 2026? I'm definitely curious to hear who all of you guys are excited to check out, and if you know what book of theirs you're going to start with. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out if you want to, and have a great day. Bye.